think that that's not a reasonable amount of water to carry because it's just too much or too heavy, because water tends to be very heavy, especially if you're going to put it in a backpack. So a filtration system or some form of filter or purification system is key. This is where the intellectual property comes in. This is where the how to comes in. Again, there are lots of survivalist apps and survivalist videos that can show you how to purify water using several different items. Be careful. Make sure that you are accessing reputable information. But some of the outdoor stores as well carry various water filters and pool cleaner tablets, the ones that do not contain that algae inhibitor. Those are excellent. I remember going to one of those big chain stores, and I was like, okay, after looking at my list, and I was like, okay, let me see if I can grab up some tablets so that I can, just in case, keep them around, because I understand that they're good to clean water. But it was really helpful having that note right next to the list that said make sure to look for the algae inhibitor, and do not buy that one. Make sure to look for it, see it. And I found that all of the tablets that they actually offered had the inhibitor, and that's toxic, so I had to leave it. But it did bring me on another search, and I was able to find appropriate forms of water purification methods. So there are various ways to purify water, and those tablets are just one of them. Now let's talk about shelter. If you're bugging out, you might have the opportunity to drive, so you may be bugging out but driving. But some people may have to bug out and hike or camp, right, or walk. So having portable tents. I have a portable tent I can share with you. Mine is a little bit big, but not as heavy. It can actually fit in my backpack easily. The good thing is though, if you have a 3-person tent or a 4-person tent, and you're bugging out with 3 people, 4 people, you can actually take the contents of the tent bag and break it up between all of the people you're traveling with. So someone can carry the bottom base tarp for the tent. Someone can carry the tent itself. Another person can carry the stakes, and someone can carry the poles, right? The poles that help to keep the tent standing. Sleeping bags. In my Instagram live, I gave a little story about a hiking experience I had that inspired me to get a proper sleeping bag. So and an insulator mat. And I don't have an insulator mat to show you, but having an insulator mat is always helpful because you can sit on it if you have to stop to eat or stop to rest. You can sit on it because it will help to insulate you, especially if you're hiking or bugging out in cooler regions. But this is my sleeping bag. All right, it looks bulky, but it's just because I opened it and I did not roll it back really neatly, but it actually can wrap smaller. If you have vacuum packs or vacuum bags, you can actually lay out some of these bulkier items or roll them, because I'm a fan of rolling, and just vacuum that extra air out of it, and it will obviously shrink the item and make it easier for you to carry. And again, remember, when you're bugging out, think about the fact that you'll be traveling with other people. You're not just traveling alone. So some of these items can be divvied up between all of the parties, all of the members of your traveling party. Wool blankets, ponchos, and tarp, plastic sheeting as well can help. The easiest thing is to actually go buy some plastic sheeting that's used for like paint protectors that you will lay over furniture if you're painting. Cheap. I'm pretty sure you can get a nice big wide one for about $4. Blue tarp is also affordable and light as well. If you're purchasing a poncho, I always like to suggest finding ponchos that can unbutton and open out as a big wide sheet, because those can be used as tarp as well, right? So you may have a poncho that doubles as tarp just because it unbuttons and can open out. So those are some, I think those are vital things to consider. A emergency blanket, this one has been opened, so you know it isn't as neat as the very first time you open it or pull it out of its packaging. This is one of the essentials, I say, if you are bugging out and you're probably going to be in cooler regions. The way this emergency blanket works is that it actually reflects the heat from your body, actually hits the sleeping bag or the emergency bag, and it reflects back onto your body. So it actually helps to contain your body heat in one place, and that, like, that's how it keeps you warm. So adding this one for each person in your traveling party, making sure you have one for each person, crucial. The other thing that we can talk about is hygiene, wellness, and products and medical supplies, right? If you think about, if you're bugging out and you do take medication, make sure you have extra. Find a way to get extra, but make sure you always have that bubble pad with a supply so that you can travel with easily. Feminine care products are crucial and important. You don't want to be uncomfortable if you are moving and traveling, so having your items easily stashed away in a Ziploc bag, it makes it easy to kind of roll them or stuff them in, different corners of your pack as well. And wipes, right? Wipes are really important as well. Keep you clean and fresh. Plastic bags, having a little plastic bag rolled up, or a few of them rolled up and stashed, is helpful. If you have feminine care products that you've used, burning them is also an option as well too. We don't want to hurt the planet, but in a case of such a dire or extreme case of emergency, it don't matter. It will not matter. So burning might help, but burning may attract attention that you may not want, so you can easily dig and bury anything. Dig a hole or something and bury anything that you've used. Hand sanitizer is important. At this stage, we've all been through 2021. We all know what hand sanitizer is. Every shape, form, fashion, homemade, store-bought, we know what they look like. So hand sanitizer is important to have. I create hand sanitizer using alcohol and tea tree. You can add things like lavender and rosemary and other antiviral, antifungal essential oils as well to it, but just make sure your ratio of alcohol to essential oils is I can't remember the portion. I made the last batch that I made, I stuck to the recipe. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but just make sure you're using clean alcohol as well too. Your first aid kit, making sure you have a first aid kit. First aid kit can be you can use a smaller size. I bought this one many years ago when I started hiking. I guess I deemed myself the person who carries some kind of first aid kit. In here I tend to have my own items, so they gave cramp tablets, there's ibuprofen and a couple other things in here, but I added peppermint. I added tea tree, and just I added my own little herbal section. This is a larger first aid kit that you can actually purchase. That's very helpful, comes in handy. You can actually include bandages as well in your setup. And one of the things I thought of was having like a CPR mask, right? Just in case something happens and you need to support someone. One of the things is, though, right now, from what I understand, you could actually administer chest compressions without giving breaths. But if it's a situation where you need to give breaths, it's always good to have a mask with you so that you can have a protective barrier between you and that person. Bite and sting kits, that's helpful too. But one of the things you can do is you can actually gather a couple of herbal remedies and create a salve and add those to your homemade medical kit, or add it to the medical kit you bought. You don't need to actually buy a bite and sting kit separately. Those things you can create from scratch. Ointment is also helpful as well too, and even lemongrass is helpful. I'm still talking about just wellness and medical and hygiene. So sometimes we gather all of these little shampoos and body wash items when we travel. Those are excellent. If you have those, they're great to just stash in the bubble bag because they'll help, rather than having to pour some out, put in a plastic bag, or pour it out and into those bottles that you have to buy. It's easy to just grab up those little miniature ones. For those of you who like little things like compartments when you're stashing and storing items for your bubble bag, I found this, right? It's almost like a cosmetic bag. It is a cosmetic bag, but I like the sections because I can use it to store items in a very compact way. So this is what it looks like. And then when I open it out, you'll find there are all these little sections. There are about 4 sections in here, and each one of these sections in each one of these sections I have various items. So one section actually has things like incense and other things that can help with insect bites and so on. I have another section that includes tinctures. Some of the tinctures that I have here: golden seal, mullein, pardiaco, or oil of oregano. Those are all important. So it's almost like this I would say is like a homemade first aid kit almost. All right, so those are some of the items that you can consider. I'm trying to think of, I want to make sure I have not missed anything. Chapstick is always helpful. I like these because they look quite snazzy and fancy. So those are some of the things. Prescription drugs, I think I touched on. Make sure you have extra and it's stored properly. I also wanted to talk about a couple other things, but I'll jump to those a little later on. Let's move on to clothing. So for clothing, you need to have a few different items. I mentioned a poncho before for shelter, because again, the interesting thing, that poncho that I mentioned that can actually unbutton and serve as tarp, you can use it as a covering. If you're out in the woods or something, you can use it as a covering, tie it to trees and spread it out. So that poncho can actually double, right? It has dual purpose. So socks, long pants. I know we're tempted, if you're in most southern or warmer regions, you'll be tempted to bug out and decide, okay, I want shorts, right? But one of the best ways to keep yourself covered and keep yourself from any kind of injury or stings, bites. Even someone mentioned poison ivy. The important thing here is to make sure that you're healthy and nothing slows you down. Wear long pants. You can actually tuck the edges of the pants into a pair of socks to keep you warm, to keep anything from crawling in. You know, I've seen some people do that before. Layers of clothing is important, and if you can wear your clothing, and then if you get warm, you can take some off, and if you get cooler, if you get too warm, you can take it off. If you get cool, you can add them. You know, you can add on clothing or put on clothing from your pack. A vacuum pack is helpful because it helps you to pack more in a smaller space. So, you know, just consider that. Material that is noisy when you move, like some forms of nylon, outdoor pants and outdoor skirts, they tend to make a sound as you're walking, so that may alert others. So other people, and in a case where you don't want to make noise and alert anyone, it's important to have soft clothing that won't make noise. Jeans, when they are wet, also make noise. They make a lot of noise, and so, you know, making sure the material that you're using or packing is light and, you know, doesn't give away your location, so to speak. Glasses, prescription glasses, if you have to wear them, make sure you carry extra pairs. Make sure you have shades as well. You know, somebody give me these shades. Make sure you have shades. That's also helpful too. To you know, if you're in the sun, it really helps, especially if you're on the road and you're not driving, but you're actually hiking or walking in the wilderness. Maybe these things are, you know, they help. They add some sort of comfort and support. Now let's talk a little bit about essential documents. Now, essential documents, you may say, okay, I have everything I need to know in my head, but in the case of an emergency, everything that's in our head kind of disappears sometimes. It's hard. Recall, it becomes difficult at times. So making sure you have all of your essential documents in both digital and hard copy form on your person, right? For the hard copies, you could keep them in a waterproof envelope with a zipper. There are some that are completely waterproof, so the zippers are they're created in a strategic way that you zip the bag, but then you fold it over several times, and then you snap it to the side, so that way it seals off the documents. That's helpful. Or you can just buy those huge Ziploc bags and seal them and take them off. All right. Some of those documents that I'm talking about are things like your birth certificate, your driver's license, deeds, proof of ownership for any items that are large items. Your state ID is important. If you don't have a driver's license, I think they call it a non-driver's ID. Death certificates and a USB drive is helpful, because on that drive you can include digital copies of all of these other documents I spoke about. The key is making sure that the key is survival. Making sure that all of the items that are crucial to you sustaining yourself, your family after some crazy event or some emergency, making sure you have all those items already prepared. All right, and I have the majority of some of my documents printed, copied, and stashed. I walk around with this little foldable, so some of them they're there, and I have some of them packed in here already. You know what a USB flash drive looks like, so I don't need to actually show you one, but If you have a few of them, sometimes you may find you have little cases and things around. You can stick a couple of them in a little case, so that way they're all in one place, because sometimes we can lose them. Right now, let's talk about sources of power. Sources of power, I don't know. So some sources of power that you want to make sure you have are things like flashlights. You want to make sure you have extra batteries on you. A headlamp is very important to have. This headlamp can actually be charged, right? It doesn't, you can use battery with it, but I can actually plug it in and charge it. It also has like an SOS signal light as well that comes on depending on which button I press. So it has these different features. So that's for source of power. That's, those are the things that make sense to have. What also makes sense is a solar panel. So we got a solar panel, and later on this week I will post a video showing you how the solar panel works. Hopefully we have a lot of sun by then, because this one hasn't been charged just yet. And it's important to make sure you have your items charged already. You're not trying to charge them just before you head out the door in the case of an emergency. So make sure those items are fully charged. I said you should have batteries. I also wanted to show you a power pack, right? This power pack can actually charge 3 items at the same time, and it's pretty easy to use. There's a little button up here. The light turns on to show you how full the battery is, and it can be recharged easily if you plug it up to a power source, right? So again, these are the items you want to make sure you plug them in and they're fully powered and stashed away. There are a couple of brands. I'll share those brands with you in the link below our YouTube video. That can help you if you need to find some of these items for yourself. And that's it. I didn't talk about the notebook, making sure you have a little notebook. I love purple, so just, it figures. But you can make sure to have actual pen and paper with you, and having a pencil as well is also important. If the ink goes dry, you definitely still have something to write with, because I know now we tend to think that our phones are an excellent way to jot down information, but when the battery is dead, you don't have anything to rely on but paper and pencil. So in terms of sources of power, those are the things I wanted to note. Now for some miscellaneous supplies, and I'm calling them miscellaneous supplies, but the truth is they're equally important. I covered flashlights. Having a mini shovel is important. Plastic bags I talked about. A hand radio, one of those shortwave radios that have like a crank on them. Excellent. Compass. I purchased this compass many years ago. This was gifted to me actually. This is I think it's a Brunton, very expensive, lots of different features on it. It has a section on the back with measurements and just coordinates and ways of identifying how to measure angles and so on, to help you with your directions, to help you with your movement. So having a good compass is important. You don't need the most expensive one, but of course the more expensive they are, the more features they have. You can also download a compass app on your telephone, right? That actually helps you to get into the habit of utilizing a compass to move around. So it makes it easy for you to practice the skills so that when it's time to actually use the physical compass, you kind of know how to use it. Utility knives are important. Utility tools, compact tools. I have one of these in my buggle bag. I also have this type. This one has Phillips head and so on. There are blades on the side, little small blades, and it has a nose to help me pry or pull things apart. And I actually have a complete knife as well. That's helpful, right? And you can purchase these at a utility store or an outdoor store. A machete is also helpful. I have one, but I'm not gonna show it. But having a machete is important. Now, again, everyone in the party doesn't need to have a machete or have a knife. It's just important that at least each party has some form of each of these tools to support them. If you're going to make a shelter or make something, you need to have those with you, or even to help defend yourself. Firearms, fishing poles, fishing hooks, duct tape as well. Super important. In terms of money and getting around using some sort of currency for exchange, make sure you have your credit card with you, of course. Make sure you have fiat currency, money with you. And also, it makes sense to have a stash of gold, silver, things like that. Those are really important to keep with you. And the money that you should have on you should be about, it range from $100 to $1,000, right? That makes sense. So I just wanted to share all of the different items that I have compiled for my buggle bag. Later on, we'll talk about the bag itself and all of the different things to stay away from when it comes to selecting a bag. That's important. I love the whole military type style bag, but that's inappropriate just because it's very, very telling. And I didn't think about that. You just think about how cool it looks, but it makes you become a target, I guess. So yeah, this is all I wanted to share in terms of the different basics for anyone's buggle bag. Please like, share, and subscribe this video. Scroll to the bottom. There are links to our Sovereign Eats website. There are links to some additional playlists that I think are really important to support your understanding of what's really happening around us right now in terms of food shortages and just other areas to keep yourself alert or prepared for, right? Other events, that you should keep yourself alert or prepared for. So thank you, and join us again. Join us on Instagram on Sunday. Every Sunday we will be doing our Sovereign Sunday segments. The next segment, we're going to talk about what we need when we shelter in, right? So we talked about buggle bag basics, right? And our buggle basics, nice long list. But when it comes to sheltering in, there's a whole different set of resources and items that you're going to need. I also want to talk about food storage and what that storage should look like, how much you should actually have with you in your home. So see us again. I'll see you all again on another Sovereign Eats segment. Thank you for joining us. Peace and power to you all.